Okay, so we are on 2004 A number 5, and the only thing we've done is write this very vital piece of information there. All right, the graph of F is also the graph of G prime. And then you just hit each question. We just did this. Okay, so this should feel very, very comfortable. A says, what is G of 0 and G prime of 0? So I'm going to go one at a time. G of 0. Okay, I look for the function defined as G. The function defined as G is the definite interval from -3 to x. So instead of -3 to x, I put -3 to 0 of f of t dt. Okay?
Yeah. Catherine Fox.
Okay. Okay, that interruption is brought to you by Catherine and Logan. Moving forward. Okay. So G of 0, how do you find G of 0 from this antiderivative?
Area.
You do the area. Okay. Is it in the right order? Does it go left to right?
Yes.
Yes, we don't have to change it. So go up to your graph and you look for the area from -3 to 0. And if you've got the graph in front of you, you may want to draw on it. You can see this is the shape we're looking at here. This. What's the shape? Trapezoid or rectangle triangle. You're going to do it. Okay. I did trapezoid. The base is the thing that connects the two parallel sides. So this is these two sides are parallel, and those are the bases, and that's the height. Formula calls it. So that height that connects it, and the length of the two bases are 1 plus 2. So the answer is 9. G of 0 is 9. Great. Next question, or in the part of the same question is G prime of 0. Well, we have identified right at the beginning. First thing we wrote down when we read this problem is that G prime is the same thing as F. So we just replace this and say, what's F of 0? Those are the same answer. And F of 0, you just read from the graph. Go up there and say, what's F of 0? And answer. Okay. Very good. All right, question B. B says, find the values of x in the open interval for which G attains a relative max. Now, you're going to be asked to find a relative max more than one time on this exam. Okay? You need to write down what you're looking for before you go look for it. Okay? What do you need to do for a relative max? Technically, we're also supposed to say this. If you don't do this most of the time, it's okay. You need a critical number, right? G prime equals 0 or undefined. But they usually gloss over that in these problems by saying words like, this is a differentiable function or something like that. I wouldn't worry about it too much. The big part is to have this when G prime changes from positive to negative. Okay? Needs to be on your paper. That's the justified A1. What is that the same thing as? F of 2 changes from positive to negative. So go look at the graph, and where does F change from positive to negative? Not F prime now. That's positive 2 right here. F is negative, positive, 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 positive. It changes from positive to negative right there. That's 3. Okay? At x equals 3. So you've answered it, the x value, and you have already justified it. Okay? All right? Question C says, find the absolute min. So now they're getting at the difference between the relative max and min and the absolute. And who can remember what you have to do with absolutes that you don't have to do with relatives? Check the endpoints, okay? You have to check the endpoints, all right? So the first one we're going to do is a relative min. That's first. Relative min where G prime changes negative to positive. Where? Oh yeah, sorry, I was looking wrong. X equals -4. And then when we did this before, we said, okay, I need to find G at the beginning. The interval they gave me was -5 to 4, so I need to find G of -5. I need to find G at any relative mins, or if it had said absolute max, I would do G at a relative max. And then I need to find G at the other end, which was positive 4. Now, sometimes you don't actually have to find these values. Sometimes you can just discuss that you know one is bigger than the other, and we're going to do that on the next problem. But on this one, we are actually going to find the values. Okay, so G of negative 5. Did they give you that at the beginning? Oh, no, they didn't. Yes, you do by the area. The interval from -3 to -5 of S of T. And that's backwards, yes. So put a negative in front of it, -5 to -3 of F of T. And then go up there and do it by area. Part of that area is below and part of it's above, yes? Okay, so make sure you're paying attention to that. This part, I'm going to use some blue. This part is negative and this part is positive. It turns out those two numbers are the same thing. So what is that antiderivative? 0. Okay, okay. All right. And then I need to find G of -4. Now, technically, G of -4 is, don't write this down, just have a watch. It's the interval from -3 to -4. dt, oh, well, that's all right, not too bad. We could also start with that 0 thing. I'll do that in a minute. What is that? I don't know if that is one. I don't know if it's in here or not. It doesn't matter if you use T or X, but don't use both of them. That's just good. All right, so you need to find G from -4 to -3. Say it again. And I lost it somehow in my equal and everything. This is an equal, but there's also a negative here because I switched direction. So now you just need to find the shape from -3 to -4, and that's just a triangle. You've already kind of found it. Didn't you find it as part of your work for the other one? Yes? And what would that one be? The actual area is 1. Okay, but we're going backwards, that makes it -1. 1/2 the base times height times the y, which is 2. Okay? Alright? And then the last one's going to be a little bit weird. The integral from -3 to 4 of F of T dt. I've already done the integral from -3 to 0. Y'all remember doing that back in the beginning? So we could take that number, which was 9/2, and put it in, and then just do the integral from 0 to 4, and not double up on the work, not do the same work over again. Does that make sense, everybody? I already did the integral from -3 to 0. And this has got a weird shape in there. Yeah? Yeah. First of all, I'm going to flip over here. I'll do this in green. This little triangle, and this little triangle, I think are the same, aren't they? Can y'all look and see? One's positive, one's negative, so I can get rid of those two. So all I really have to find is this area, this little stuff under here. And that is a rectangle minus 1/2 of a circle. Okay? And how big is that rectangle? 2 by 1. All right. So this piece right here is 2 times 1 minus 1/2 a circle, 1/2 pi, and the radius is. Okay. So we get 9/2 plus 2 minus pi over 2. And I am telling you, if you leave it like that, the AP people don't care. Okay. Now you can combine it and turn it into something a little prettier than that, but it doesn't really make any difference. Does everybody follow? Okay? So in this particular case, we found the relative min, we found the actual values at the endpoints. We didn't just talk about one being bigger or one smaller. We actually found them, and now we need to not forget to answer the question. We've done all this work. What did they actually ask us?
That's the absolute min.
What is the min? I mean, we've got all this work here. What is the min? Well, first of all, where is the min? Now, let's take a look at this bottom. You can look out your calculator. 9/2 plus 2 minus pi over 2. What's pi? 3.1 divided by 2 is 1.5. Okay, is that going to be, just thinking, yeah, it's not going to be negative. You know, see, it's never going to be super hard. Okay, so the relative min at x equals -4, the relative, it wasn't relative, was it? It was absolute. Change my words, absolute. And then absolute min is, and the answer was -1.
So it was, the x equals -4 is the relative min and the absolute.
That's right. Sometimes the relative min is absolute min, sometimes the endpoint is the absolute min. Okay? All right, last question. Find all values at which the graph has a point of inflection. So, point of inflection. I'm spelling everything backwards. Point of inflection. How do you find that? But not for this problem, not F. What do they ask? No, wait, stop. What's the name of the function we're working with? G.
Wait, it's on our favorite bridge line.
Okay, thank you. Where else should I yell at? G double prime changes sign, okay? G double prime changes sign. Okay. So I call not this thing here. All right, G double prime changes sign. Okay, so G double prime is the same thing as F prime. Yes? G double prime is the same as F prime. You don't have to write all these down. You have to write one down and know what to look for. And F prime is the same thing as the slope of F. So where does the slope of F change sign? Go up and look at the picture. Where does the slope change from positive to negative, negative to positive, positive to 0? Several times. -3. 1. I had 1. Did I get that wrong?
Right.
And sometimes I grab the y instead of the x. Okay? And one more. 2. Now, the thing about this problem is that it starts off with this weird graph up there, but all those questions that it asks you, you know, except for the first one, max, min, point of inflection, they don't give you a table of points, they make you a function. So you've reviewed your process, as well as this kind of new sort of problem. Okay? All right. Let's take a look at the next one. That's the most straightforward one I've seen. And I see one that straightforward and that easy every 5 or 6 years. Okay? And sometimes they go a little twisted. So here's the next one. And the first thing that you want to notice about the second one is that it's not going to be geometric, because those are not geometric shapes, yes? So, this is the right one, 2004 B number 4. Yes? So, I'm telling you, this is the same problem we just worked, except that you're not going to be able to use geometry to get your answers, okay? So, there's going to be a different way to go about it. Go ahead and read it. One of the things that happens in this problem is they skip that little thing where they tell you this is F and then they call it G as the antiderivative. They just skip over that and they say, okay, people, this is F prime. That's what it is. All right? So they've made it a little bit easier. They've given you all this information about horizontal tangent lines, okay? And then they gave you one other piece of information. They told you that F of 2 is 6. Not F prime of 2, but F of 2. Okay, F prime of 2 is not 6. F prime of 2 is some negative number over there. Okay? All right, so the question says, find the x-coordinate at each of the points of inflection and give a reason. Points of inflection for F. I don't care what they give you. They ask you about points of inflection. What do you write first? Right, F double prime changes sign, or G double prime, or whatever function they're asking you about. Do I have F double prime in front of me?
No.
No, what do I have in front of me? F prime. So what do I want to look at?
It's just a little
Correct. Slope of F prime changes sign. You don't have to write both of those things down. Either one of those things will get you the justified point, okay? But you kind of have to do it in your head. All right, so you go up there and you look, where does the slope of F prime change sign? We'll go here, we'll go with 1. X equals 1.
X equals 3.
X equals 3, and that's it. Okay? So 1, X equals 3. All right, now this next part asks you about absolute minimum. We just did absolute minimum, yes? Okay? But this one's going to be a little bit different because we can't actually compute values for the area because we don't have geometric shapes and we don't have a function. If I had a function, I could take the antiderivative. Okay, but I don't have that. I just have this more generic thing. So, but still, let's write down what we're going to do. We want absolute min. So that means first relative min. All right, we find that relative min exactly like we did before. And that's for maxes and min. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, relative min. F prime changes negative to positive. So relative min where? Four. Relative max. I'm going to go ahead and find both the relative. Relative max, F prime changes positive to negative in absolutely no universe does that word actually say changes. But I'm assuming y'all know what that means. It just says okay. Okay? So where does the F prime change from positive to negative? It doesn't. There's no relative max. So if there's no relative max, then the absolute max is going to have to be an endpoint. Okay? All right, I have looking for all of these things, so what I need to find is, what function is this? F at the beginning. What is the beginning of this problem? Negative 1. I have to find F at any relative max or min, and I only found one, which was 4, and I have to find F at the other endpoint, which is 5. There are several ways to approach this. Okay, you can't actually find any values. There's no values. You can't actually come up with a number. So you're going to have to use either mathematical notation or the written language, the English language, to explain how you know which one of these numbers is the smallest and which one of these numbers is the largest. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at F of negative 1. Okay, I don't know what it is. I haven't got the slightest idea what it is. Does everybody agree? I'm going to just make up something. I'm going to call it F. It's some number. Okay? Then I'm going to look at F of 4. I'm going to remember that F of 4 is F of negative 1, kind of our new thing, plus the integral from negative 1 to 4 of F prime. If I start at negative 1, where did I start? And how much did I change? Remember, this definite integral is an accumulator of change. Okay? Now, look at the value of the definite integral from negative 1 to 4. I don't know what it is, but I know something about it. What's going to be true of the value of the definite integral? It's negative. Okay? So, the value of this definite integral, okay, A plus some negative number. Yes? So therefore, what must be true? If I start somewhere and then I add a negative number to it, which way am I going? That means that F of 4 must be less than F of negative 1. Okay. Yes?
How did you come up with like the original statement?
Okay, anytime f of 7, I'm gonna pick any number. Tell me a starting point, f of 2. If I have this 2, that where I started plus the change. That's like one of the things we've just recently done, okay? And it doesn't matter what these two numbers are. This one goes here, and that one goes here. Where did I start, plus how much did I change? You're going to see that maybe 150 times in the next hour, okay? And hopefully it'll stick. Do it a whole bunch of times, okay? All right, so another way that you could explain that in words is you could say, in your own words, of course, since f prime is negative, from negative 1 to 4, since f prime is negative, f must be decreasing. One of the first things we did back in the fall with derivatives. If f prime is positive, f is increasing. If f prime is negative, f is decreasing. Okay? So you could write that in words instead of writing it in this sort of mathy notation right here. Okay? And say since it is decreasing, then f of negative 1 must be bigger than f of 4. Okay? All right, so now we're going to look at f of 5. So I don't know what f of 4 is, but if I knew what f of 4 was, how would I get f of 5? From 5 of f primes. Right. Okay? Go up and look at the interval from 4 to 5. Is it positive or negative? It's positive. So f of 4 plus some positive number. Or you could say, since f prime from 4 to 5 is positive, then f of 5 must be bigger than f of 4. Okay? So I've got f of 5 is bigger than f of 4. I have to get that all together. F of 4 is less than f of negative 1. And I've got f of 4 is also less than f of 5. I've got those two pieces of information from what I've done. And what do I know for sure? F of 4, that is our absolute min, because it's smaller than my other two options, okay? So right here, at this point, I can definitely say 4, x equals 4, where that happens, absolute min at x equals 4. Okay? We good? Okay. This does not tell me which one of these is bigger. How am I going to tell whether f of negative 1 is bigger or f of 5 is bigger? Anybody got any ideas? Anybody else? The problem is I haven't got any numbers. Look at the graph, and what are you looking for when you look at the graph here? Okay, so all of this time it's decreasing, and right here it's increasing. So, what do you think? Assuming this is drawn to scale. Assuming this is drawn to scale.
Well, isn't the bottom one bigger?
Yeah, what about the bottom is bigger? What the area? I don't know what the area is, but isn't this area down here bigger than this little area right up here? Yes? Okay, we do this for our people who are watching this. This blue area here is bigger than this red area. Yes? So you gotta put, there's no way to do this but to write this in words. Sorry, math people. Okay? Because the area from negative 1 to 4 is, there's greater area below the axis than above the axis. It decreases more than it increases. There's lots of different ways of saying it. We're not actually finding any numbers, but we're using this concept of area to see that it decreases more than it increases. Does everybody see? Yes?
Why are you decreasing?
This is f prime. If f prime is negative, then f decreases. So you're going to have to use words, it's your own words. I'm not going to put it up here. You won't be able to read that right anyway. Okay? Because it decreases more than it increases, you know, there's more area below the x-axis than above it, then, so wherever f starts, it decreases some and then it increases a little. I don't know how much, but it decreases some and then it only increases a little. So which is bigger, at -1 or at 5? At -1, okay? So f of -1, absolute max is at f of -1, is at -1. All of this math, all of this stuff we did up here justifies this one. This one right here, you're gonna have to use some words. There's no way around it. You're going to have to use some words. So, like I said, I want you to see that that's the same question as the first one. Yeah, it's just a little bit different in how you have to answer it, okay? All right, now read the last question. At one point, somebody asked me, I don't understand why you can't give a longer, for a while I only did a 2-hour semester exam, and they're like, I don't understand why you can't do a 3-hour exam. I said, because none of the real questions, we haven't covered any of them. So there's not a single AP question out there, free response, not one, that all of it is covered in the first 2 months or 3 months of AP calculus. It's not, it's like this. Like, look at this right here, I don't know what they asked me. Equation of tangent line? Yes? Okay, well, how do you find an equation of tangent line? Point, g of, not g, yeah, g of 2 and slope. G prime of 2. I need to find those two things, okay? I don't think g of 2 is going to be terribly hard. Take out x and put in 2. And where do I get f of 2?
Hey, how do you know G of 2 and G prime?
How do you write an equation for any tangent line? Point and the slope. Written in function notation. Okay? Alright? How do I find f of 2?
It's given.
It's given to you at the beginning of the problem. Okay? You're kind of wondering, but that, what are you supposed to do with that? 2 times what? And that is 12. So my point is 2 comma 12. There's my point. Okay. Other times you might have to find f of 2 from a table of values or by looking at a graph or by plugging into something. This time they gave it to you. All right? We got to find g prime of 2. This is reaching way back to the fundamental definition of product rule. Say product rule in your head. Right? Okay. There it is. There's your first and your second. You got it? And you write down what you need to write down, but before you plug the 2 in, I'm going to do it with just the x first. You can do it with the 2, but I'm going to do it with it. Look, I raised the 2 and put it right back up here. I'm going to do it with the x first. First times derivative of the second plus times the first. You remember these back at first semester? Okay. And then go back and change that to g prime of 2. F prime of 2. F of 2. How do I get F prime of 2? Go look at it on the graph. F prime of 2 is -1. F of 2 we already said was 6, and so g prime of 2 is 4. And now you need to write the equation of the tangent line. That's the easy part. Y minus 12 equals 4 times x minus 2. Good? Yes? When you contrast this problem, compare this one to the first one is like super straightforward. These are the things I might ask you about this graph. And then over here, they asked you 2 of those, and then they threw this weird thing at you. You know how to do it. It doesn't really seem to go with this kind of problem, but it's there. You can get the information. Everybody good? Okay? All right, and you will flip over and look at 2005. I'm not going to work out, but just look at it. And I wonder if you could find for me the problem that is like this. And I'm going to tell you, it's not the easiest thing I've ever asked you to do. 2005A, see if you can locate the problem that is like this. Pretty good assumption. It is number 4, but look, you know what? It doesn't show up until question C. Look at question C. Everybody look at question C. There, do you see it right there? G of x equals the definite interval from 1 to x. You see it? Look at the beginning of this problem. What does this problem start out as? And they ask you to draw a graph using the information in the table. Has anybody ever asked you to do that before? It may have been this same one. I may have copied this when they put it on your exam. I don't know. You've got to determine positives and negatives and values. And can you tell me where it goes up and where it goes down and where it comes to there? And then once you draw the graph, you have to use that graph the same way that we use this graph. So if you get your graph wrong, and especially if you get a wonky, really crazy graph, things can be kind of weird, okay? So does everybody see what they've done here? They all did 2 things that don't seem like they go together. They just pop them right there together. We're not going to work this one. I'm going to go to another one. Actually, I want to go to number 2006. I'll have to share 4 sheets. They were on her desk. There's plenty of paper. It's back there by the water bottle. Okay, share analytical. 2006 B. And one of the reasons I'm doing 2006 B, when everybody should find the question, is because it's not number 4. I think 8 out of the last 10 years, it's been on the no calculator part. All right, but here's one that they did with the calculator, so I think it's worth our time to take a look at how. Number 2. It's number 2. Okay, it's number 2. And how did the adjustment that they make when they turn this into a calculator question instead of no calculator? Yeah, E and sine. It's the same problem. Okay. I think it's interesting that they actually gave you the graph. You know, see, that's interesting. So they actually gave you the graph. All right. So here we go. And they told you the graph of f prime. That's your key bit of information. We're going to set a few things up, and then I'm going to turn this thing off here, and y'all are going to punch buttons on your calculator and get the right answer. We're not going to punch the buttons right now. We're just going to set things up. Prior to you getting it. Okay? All right, question A. Determine whether the graph is concave up or concave down or neither with 1.7 and 1.9. Actually, we don't need our calculator for this one. You'll look at the graph. How do you determine if F is concave up or concave down?
Double prime.
No. Yes, sine of F double prime. That's what I need. Okay, point of inflection is where it changes sign. If I just want to know concave up or concave down, I need to know the sign of F double prime. Okay? Do I have F double prime?
No.
Well, you can use the slope of F prime. So look up there at your picture. Where is 1.7 to 1.9? It's in here somewhere. Yes? Yes. So what is the slope of F prime? It's negative. That's your justification. The slope of F prime is negative, therefore, concave what? Okay. You could also type f of x, f prime, into y1 and take the derivative and plug in a couple of numbers in between 1.7 and 1.9, but that seems like a little waste of time. Okay? All right. question B? What is question B asking for? Absolute min and max?
No, just
Absolute
max.
Absolute max. So we need relative max. It's not looking at the whole thing, is it?
Yeah, zero,
Yeah, the whole thing 0 to 3, okay.
zero.
All right, so relative max, what do we look for? Changes positive to negative. Get F prime, tell me where it changes from positive to negative. Put your pencil on it, 1 point something, yes? I'm gonna say X equals A, and in a few minutes, you're going to find that value by finding the 0 on your calculator, yes? And you're gonna store it in memory compartment A. And on your test, when you take this, you're gonna mark that point on your graph and put a big old letter A. So everybody knows what I'm talking about, okay? All right, so then I need to find F at the beginning, which is F of, then I need to find F at A, and then I need to find F at the end, 3. F of 0. F prime of 0 is 0. No, I'm trying to read the problem. I'm trying to read the problem. It's 5. How do I know? Because they told me so in the very first sentence. Okay. Now, what's the danger there? Y'all just did it. I said find F, and you went over and found F prime. Okay, so you've got to know what you're looking at. How do I find F of A? This is that kind of newish thing, but it's super important. That's what did I start with? 5. F of 0. I'm actually going to write F interval from 0 to A. F prime. Okay, so where did I start? How much did I change? Okay, that's a calculator question. Yes? Then how are you going to find F of 3? Yes, or you would say F of 0, because it's a nice number, and do the integral from 0 to 3. But the other one would work as well. You take your answer from here, that would also work. Plus. Okay? And then you're going to make sure that, say that again. They just need to match up. So this one could also be F of A plus the integral from A to 3. You should get the same answer. Okay? So we're not doing it right now. We're going to set everything up. Okay? We're going to write down how to solve B and how to solve C. And you're going to use good notation for this. All right? Now look at C. Let's see what they've asked us. Everybody agree that you should be able to do that computation? Okay, what does C ask us for? No, it's a section of 3 that I picked where they said equation of the tangent line. Why? Well, because that's one of their favorite ones to throw in as an extra question. Equation of the tangent line at 2. I need 2 things. I need the point, F of 2. And I need the slope, which is time of 2. Did they give me F of 2 this time? No. This is back when they were first really emphasizing this start value plus amount of change, and they just loaded this question with it. F of 2. F of 0 plus the integral from 0 to 2. I mean, you just did this 4 times in the last one. Why are they making you do it again? I don't know. But that's it. Okay, F prime of 2, however, is I don't know what it is, but I'm going to have this in my calculator, yes, and I'm going to just find out what F prime of 2 is, yes. So get that off your calculator. It's something weird and decimal. Okay. All right. I'm going to turn this off, and y'all are going to find the values for all 3 of these things. Bye, ladies.